to Zach, to Vance, to Mensa, to Pete. I'm going to have to come up with a new name for y'all. Because y'all ain't just a praise team no more. Y'all going to a whole nother level.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And I'm going to go to the Lord on y'all's behalf.
Yes, sir.
We're going to have to rename you.
Yes, sir.
Because y'all are breaking up fallow ground with you. As you clutch your neighbor's hands, we pray. Song before me, if you will. His heads are bowed, his eyes are closed.
Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord.
God, first of all, we say thank you for thinking enough of us to meet us here. But God, our needs are too critical for us just to have an emotional encounter with you.
Yes, sir.
So God, birth in this church a spirit of pure, unadulterated passion for you. God, make us so hungry, make us so thirsty, that all we want and all we need is you. From every preacher to every musician to every vocalist to every deacon to every trustee to every preacher to every worshiper. God, let the anointing be so thick in here that God, whenever somebody comes in here for the first time, God, they are arrested by the smoke of your glory. God, make 18 the year that you change us spiritually, where we become so crazy and connected to you that, God, we do whatever you tell us to do, when you tell us to do it, and exactly the way you tell us. Finally, God, I pray that, God, what you placed in my spirit and in my mind would come out of my mouth with precision, with anointing. God, we don't want to preach for applause. God, we want to preach because we want to see a change. Such is our prayer today. In Jesus' name, amen. Come on and give God. Real quick, go with me to 2 Corinthians chapter 8. While you're up on your feet, 2 Corinthians chapter 8. Lady Easter in 2 Corinthians chapter 8. And when you found 2 Corinthians chapter 8, I want you to put your finger, Pastor Moss, on verse 1. And when you found it, shout, I got it. Amen. You're still looking for it. Say, wait a minute. Amen. I want to encourage each of you to be here Tuesday night at 7 for the kickoff of 2018, our TNT. I'm going to be preaching and teaching about becoming a contagious church.
Okay.
That's a good one.
We're going to spend the entire month of January talking about, Cynthia, what it means to become a contagious church. Since they've been talking about the flu is spreading, and all of but these germs are spreading. I'm just wondering what would happen if we started spreading some grace.
Yes, sir.
So Tuesday at 7, Eric, I'm going to start on that series. And then all deacons, trustees, and armor bearers, I need you to mark your calendar for January the 27th. From 10 to 12, I need you to meet the executive team here. Deacons, trustees, and armor bearers, we're going to go through a training. So that's for all new trustees, all current trustees, all new deacons, and all current deacons, and all of our armor bearer and our security team. 2 Corinthians chapter 8, beginning at verse 1, the text says, "Now, brothers and sisters, we want you to know about the grace that God has given the Macedonian churches. In the midst of a very severe trial, their overflowing joy and their extreme poverty welled up in rich generosity." Again, verse 2. "In the midst of a very severe trial, their overflowing joy and their extreme poverty welled up in rich generosity." You may have your seat in the presence of the Lord. You give me 15 minutes of your best attention, I'll be done. We'll do the announcements immediately following the sermon. Amen. I'm going to try to preach for 10 minutes, and then I'm going to do what the Lord has assigned me to do. And I just thank God for different gifts in our body. I thank God for Pastor Moss. Thank God, amen, for my amazing wife. Amen. And then I thank God, amen. Come on, give God praise for the two of them. And then I thank God for Elder Wright. And it was strange because Minister Emmanuel opened us. And then as the Spirit, you did an amazing job, sir. And then as the Spirit moved, I tapped Elder Wright and I said, go do what God is telling you to do. And here we are. The text says, in the midst of a very severe trial. Yes, sir. Renita, for the next 10 minutes that are 9 minutes long, I just want to talk about in the midst of all of this. Miller time, you ought to tap somebody knee and just tell them, D. Nicole, in the midst of all of this.
In the midst of all of this.
The circumstances, Zach, of life, John Wade, had gotten the best of the people of God. Reverend Marquise, you name it, Aubra, they had been through it. Sister Gloria, they had been through wars, they had been through a famine, they had been through persecution, they had been through mistreatment, they had been through distress. Erica, they had been through frustration, they had been through depression, Deacon Thurman, and they had been through poverty. Yes, sir. All of these were a part of their experience. But Elder Deborah, in the midst of all of that, they found a way to have joy and a reason to celebrate. Yes. I need about 7 of y'all that are really listening to me to just say, in the midst of all of this.
In the midst of all of this.
I dare you to just say it loud, and your neighbor ain't even got to know what you're going through. I dare you to say, in the midst of all of this, I will have joy. For many of us who have positioned ourselves in worship, we also know, Chi-Town, the feeling of having, Deacon TP, so much going on and not enough to do it with. The pressure, y'all, of life treats many of us with no sympathy or regard. It seems, Evangelist Wiggins, like the more you try to do right, wrong just keeps showing up.
All right.
I wonder, is there anybody under the sound of my voice that can slip your hand up and say, the more good I try to do, bad stuff just keeps following me. But I need about 3 of y'all. I ain't gonna get excited, I promise you. But I just need 3 of y'all to high five somebody near you and tell them, but in the midst of all of this, I'm still gonna give God praise. I'm still gonna trust God. I'm still gonna be faithful to God. No matter what I'm going through, no matter what I'm getting ready to go through, no matter what I've been through, in the midst of all of this, I still got joy.
All right.
So what do you do, Miller time, in the midst of all of this? Verse 2:8 says, in the midst of a very severe trial. VJ, I wonder if there's anybody under the sound of my voice that's going through a severe trial right now. Some of y'all probably can hold up both hands and I dare you to just elbow the person next to you and say, I don't look like what I'm going through. Because God has an unusual way of putting his grace on you, and his grace covers you so the rest of us don't know what you're going through. But trust thee, Myrtle, in the midst of all of this. So here it is. What do you do in the midst of all of this? Here it is. First thing, give me 6 minutes. The first thing is you got to recognize their prophet will always be a contradiction to your contribution.
All right.
I don't even want you to tell your neighbor, Sharisa, that because it was so good. You ought to just tap yourself and tell yourself, it's a contradiction to my contribution. Pastor, show it to me in the text. Trials, joy, poverty, and generosity don't belong together. When you think of trials, Mincy, and poverty, you don't think of joy and generosity. But God's got a strange way of taking your trials and your poverty and producing joy and generosity all in the middle of it. I wish I had 3 of y'all that would just slip up one hand and declare, I don't even know why I'm still in church. I don't even know why I'm as excited as I am. Because if half the folk in my church knew what I was going through, they might not want to sit next to me, because I've got trials, I've got poverty, but in the middle of all of that, I still got joy. I dare you to high five your neighbor and say, it don't make sense, but I still got joy. And the fact of the matter is, I'm not going to let what I'm going through, Zach, rob me of being generous, because I understand that the more generous I am, the more I set myself up to be a blessing. I need about 3 of y'all just to open up your mouth, lean your head back, and say, it don't make sense, but I'm going to do it anyhow. I'm going to do it anyhow. Oh, God. My condition cannot be the cancellation of my celebration. In other words, Sweet Lou, you can't allow your condition to cancel, Pastor Regina, your celebration. Sometimes it's out of our poverty that God births generosity. Because oftentimes we are reminded of where we've been. And when you look, Monte, at where you've been, and you think about where you are, where you've been doesn't add up to where you are. And when you look, see, this ain't for everybody, but for about 7 of y'all, when you look, Lisa, at where you are based upon where you've been, you ought to be able to lift up one hand and say, oh, I'm so blessed. I dare you, Evangelist Wiggins, to slip up one hand and declare, God, everything in my life may not be perfect, but I'm so blessed. Now here it is. Let me keep pressing here. I told you I wouldn't be long. Just because I'm struggling, Mother Mosley, don't mean I stopped sowing.
All right, that's right.
See, Tanya, did you catch that?
That's right.
I pray you caught it all the way in the back, because, see, some of us, Tamika, use our condition as a cancellation of our ability to participate in what God wants you to do. Could it be possible that the reason some of us are going through what we're going through is because God really wants to see, Monique, if you trust him as much, trusty Brenda, as you say you do? Because anybody can sow when you got money in the bank and money in your pocket, but do you have enough faith to be generous even while you're going through a poverty-stricken season? I dare you to look at everybody on your road and say, my praise don't even make sense to me sometimes, but when I think about all that God has done and where the Lord has brought me from, my soul cries.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It is. Come on. Time a minute. Yeah, I'm doing the best I can, sir. I'm really trying not to get excited, but look at verse 3. Verse 3 says, for I testify. Y'all don't mind if I teach for a few minutes, do you?
No.
For I testify that they gave as much as they were able. And even, does your Bible, Evangelist Brenda, say beyond their ability? Entirely.
Yeah.
Let me go ahead and deliver the house real quick. I just grabbed your neighbor by the hand and say, neighbor, they didn't have to be coerced in the giving. No, that's the wrong neighbor. Look at the person behind you and tell them they didn't have to be tricked in the giving. The Bible says that they gave entirely. I wonder, Horace, what's going to happen when folk just start walking around here just sowing entirely on your own win. I wonder what's going to happen when you just start blessing folk in the grocery store entirely on your own. You don't need anybody to applaud you. You don't need anybody to give you an award. You don't need anybody to call your name. You doing it entirely on your. Now, you used to do it because somebody told you to do, or because somebody was watching you. But I wonder, is 18 the year we start doing stuff entirely on my own? I don't need Jones to preach me happy. I don't need Zach to hit my chord. I'll break out in a holler and it ain't no music playing. I dare you to high five your neighbor and say entirely on my own. Because when you know who God is for yourself, you'll start doing stuff without my.
Take all of it.
Watch this. Text says they gave as much as they were able, and even beyond their ability. You don't know what God can do, Miss Ann, until God places you in a position and in a predicament where you don't know what to do. So let me, King, I hope you hear me. See, you don't know what he can do until he places you in a position where you don't know what to do. Because as long as you know, mama, what to do, you will continue, Nicole, to try to do what you know how to do in order to fix what you don't know how to fix. So God will sometimes, Tina, place you in situations where you don't know how you got in it, and you sure don't know how you're going to get out of it, so that you'll turn to God. And when you turn to God, you'll be able to say it was nobody but him. Now, watch this. They gave what they were able to, and even beyond that. How do I excel in this grace of giving? church shout grace giving.
Grace giving.
What is grace giving? It's given even when you don't have it to give, when you don't want to give it. It's given because when you think so sure of what he's done, it literally echoes in your spirit for you to give. Now, let me go ahead and give it to you real quick and I'm done. How do I excel in this grace of giving? Number one, you got to be willing to surrender. Everybody say surrender.
Surrender.
Now, what am I surrendering to? You're surrendering to the will of God. What is the will of God? The will of God is the purpose that God created you for. The first thing he created us for, he created all of us to worship. So you got to be willing, first of all, to surrender. That means when you hear God move, when you feel God move, you let go of you so that God can have his way. But first of all, you got to be willing to surrender. But secondly, you got to be willing to sacrifice. Now watch this. We must give to the will of God before we give to the work of God. Simone, here's what's powerful. Many of us are trying to give to the work. But you haven't given to the will. And see, when you try to give to the work right, but you ain't gave to the will, giving to the work becomes hard because you're still struggling with his will.
Come on, sir.
See, but when you surrender to the will, you can sacrifice to the work. But many of us, Jeray, are trying to do it in the reverse. You trying to sacrifice to the work, but you ain't surrendered to the will. But when you totally surrender to the will, the work will become easy because the work really ain't work. The work is your assignment. But you don't know what your assignment is until you tap into what God's will is. So that's why when it comes to the moment of giving, you can have great worship, but struggle when it comes to giving because you rather give to work than give to his will. So see how quiet it's getting right through here? Because you love the work of the church. You love for people to call your name and pat you on the back and applaud you and hear you sing and watch you do what you do. That's the work. But the will is when you surrender all that you are.
That's good, sir.
I'm almost done. And greater grace, if we're going to achieve greatness in him, we can't be more concerned about the work than we are about the will. Because see, I'm almost done, but y'all help me out. Now, if you're in my will, and I've got a will, and I put you in my will, when do you get the inheritance that I left?
Good question.
Y'all help me out. Y'all help me.
Yeah,
If you in my will, if all y'all in my will, including Lisa, Jeray, and the boys, if all y'all in my will, when do y'all get the benefits of the inheritance of the will? When I do what? When I do what? You can't get the inheritance from the will until the person who has released the will dies. Death is a form of surrender. So in other words, we can't totally get what God has for us until until we first learn how to die to ourselves. See, you trying to inherit the promises of God, but you still alive. In order to get the promises, you got to be willing to die to you. And the way that you die to you is you surrender you to you. See, you trying to make a sacrifice without a surrender. Wow. It ain't really a sacrifice when you surrender. I'm done. See, I want us to move past. Showing up to church shouldn't be a sacrifice. When I'm surrendered, showing up to worship in a sacrifice. Y'all singing, it ain't when you surrender. Because that's Pastor Moss, your offering unto God. Yes, sir. But it's work when you ain't surrendered. And what we've got to grow to in 18 is we've got to become a surrendered people. Because if we become a surrendered people, when the Lord Myrtle asks you to sacrifice something, it won't even be hard. Let me give you these points and I'm out. That's good. Repeat after me real quick. I want the Lord, to have his way, in my life. And in order for that to happen, I've got to get out of his way. Slip up one hand and just say, God, have your way. I'm officially getting out of your way. Come on, slip up the other hand. Say, Lord, have your way. I'm officially getting out of your way. I'm waiting on about 3 of y'all in the middle to catch it. Slip up your hand, Renita, and say, Lord, have your way. I'm officially getting out of your way. Whatever you want to do with me, whatever you want to say to me, however you want me to do it, Lord, have your way. I'm officially getting out of your way. God, get my attitude out of your way. Get my disposition out of your way. If I've got a problem, I need about 3 of y'all to slip up one hand and say, Lord, have your way. I'm officially getting out of your... Oh, God Almighty. Can I get 3 of y'all just to shout, have your way? In my house, if there's anything in my house that ain't of you, God, I'm asking you to have your way. If there's anything in my life, if it's anything in my church, get it out of my church. Lord, have your way. I'm getting out of your... Can I get 3 of y'all just to shout, Lord, have your way? Oh my God, have your way. In the classroom, have your way. In the operating room, God, have your way. I'm getting out. So what else? What else? Oh, that's just a holler right there. Somebody that made it. Lord, have your way. I wish I'd get about 3 more of y'all that would join Evangelist Brenda and just declare, Lord, have your way. When I come in church, I ain't looking for no new friends. I ain't looking for no fan club. If you like me, that's cool. If you don't speak to me, that's cool. But Tanya, when I walk in here, just have your way. If I don't ever eat your chicken, if you don't ever walk into your house, Lord, have your way. Can I get my 9 of y'all to pop up like some popcorn and just say, Lord, have your way. In 18, God, I don't want to be around anybody who ain't in God's will. Because if you ain't in God's will, you in God's way. Somebody shout, Lord, have your way. Somebody shout, have your way. Come on, rest on your feet. I'm sorry. Woo! Somebody just holler, have your way. Slip your hands up and just say, Lord, have your way. If I'm not in his will, I'm in his way.
I'm in his way, yes.
And God, I'm tired of being out of your will and being in your will.
Yes.
Today, Lord, my praise, have your way.
Have your way.
4 things I wanted to give you for those of y'all that are recording while you're on your feet. What does graceful, godly giving look like? What does godly giving look like? The first thing it looks like, number 1, you give knowingly. You give knowing that when you give to God, God's going to give it back to you.
Yes.
And Keena, he's going to give you so much more than you could ever give.
Yes.
But Simone, I see you recording notes. I love it. So let me go ahead and give you point 2. You give willingly.
Yes.
You don't have to be forced. You don't have to be prompted. You don't have to be coerced. You give. Somebody shout willingly.
Willingly.
With all that God has given you, Pete, with all that God has blessed you with, you ought to want to give God.
Yes, sir. Yes,
So
sir.
you give knowingly. Elder Wright, you give willingly.
Oh, yes.
Trust me, brother, it ain't nothing like preachers who can preach loud and good,
Yeah.
but don't give.
I like that real.
You got an ordained preaching license. You speak in 7 different tongues. 7 different tongues. You dance with the best of them. But when it comes to giving, you get real. Ain't nothing like musicians who can play like angels, but give like demons. Ain't nothing like worshipers who worship and they tear up the chairs and rip the carpet. Hold up the service with your praise, but whenever it's time to give, you ain't never got to pray.
Wow.
You put your finger up and slide to the bathroom. You digging in your purse. Somebody shout, we gonna give willingly this year.
We can get willing this year. That's right, Pastor.
But number three, because I see I done offended about 7 of y'all right through here. Give realistically.
Yes, sir.
What the text teaches us is parts you can't give what you don't have. See, I know a whole lot of folk will ask you to give your light bill with a prophetic promise that God will pay your light bill. And if God ain't told you, you mess around giving your light bill and end up in the dark. Oh, y'all ain't saying nothing. I need about 7 of y'all. Y'all got real excited right through there, y'all. Y'all like to give realistically, Paul. I need you to get just as excited about giving willingly. Now, you might not look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, you might not give what I give, but we all can give. So you got to give knowingly, you got to give willingly. Number 3, you got to give realistically. But number 4, you got to give confidently. 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 Knowing that if I give it to him, I just gave you the illustration of the light bill. How many of y'all have given your lives and you've seen God supply? How many of y'all have ever given God your lives? And you gave it, you trusted the Lord with all your heart. And God, how many of y'all are standing today and know that the only way you got what you got, you have what you have, is because the Lord's been good? I wish I had about 42 of y'all that will slip up both hands and say, I'm confident that the Lord will take care of me. I'm confident that the Lord will.